Alright, what is good, fishing fam? So you're probably wondering why I'm filming this video in the low light. That's because I don't have to squint every time I look at the camera. Now I'm kind of still squinting because it's kind of tough to look straight into a camera, like dead in. It's kind of hard to focus super hard. But today's video I'm going to be talking about what you want in a good chatterbait setup, how to fish it, where to fish it, and all that good stuff. Let's talk about it. Okay, so let's start with the basic idea. What is a chatterbait? Well, chatterbait, also known as the bladed jig, because it is basically the same style of a jig except it has a blade here and it's a moving bait. What does a chatterbait do? It's got this head, like I said, it's like a jig. It's kind of like a skipping jig almost. It has a skirt like a jig, it has a big hook like a jig, and it has a head of lead or tungsten, either one, like a jig. But what makes it different from a jig is obviously it has no weed guard, which is basically a swim jig without a weed guard, is what I kind of look at it like. And it's got this blade up here. What does this blade allow it to do? Well, obviously it sinks like a jig. And when you bring this to the water, there's a blade, it vibrates. And what that makes it do is basically the same thing as a spinnerbait or, something like that, which I almost said chatterbait, but we're talking about a chatterbait. But it makes it do basically the same thing as a spinnerbait or an underspin. It makes commotion in the water, and that really triggers fish to bite. This is an incredible weapon for dirty pond water. This is like a really good pond lure. It could probably work in lakes, but I think it'd do a little bit better in ponds just because you got a lot of vibration in one spot. Usually ponds are reasonably isolated. They're not huge. They're just kind of mediocre size, like 60 yards or more. And a chatterbait just does so well in that. A chatterbait, you want to fish it with a trailer most of the time. You're really going to catch more fish on a trailer. I like to buy lighter chatterbaits, 3/8 ounce, and I'll go max like maybe 1/4 ounce because my trailer is gonna be so heavy and it's just gonna weigh it down altogether. And right now this chatterbait's pretty heavy. Like I've never been a huge fan of chatterbaits. I have a love-hate relationship with them. Like I like the way they work. I like the idea of a chatterbait. Like I feel like I'm gonna catch a fish on it. But I just think they have a little bit too much vibration for me. I'm still gonna use them just because they're gonna catch more fish for me than probably a spinnerbait would. But So what kind of rod do you want for a chatterbait? Well, a chatterbait rod, I know that Lew's made their own Thunder Cricket rod, which is Strike King's brand of chatterbait. It's a really cool looking chatterbait, probably more expensive than a Z-Man. There's also probably the most expensive brand out there, Jackhammer. I think it's Z-Man Jackhammer or something like that. Those are $20 chatterbaits, and those supposedly, well not supposedly, but they have way better action, way better vibration. I've never tried one. I've just heard so much about them, and I'm like, if somebody is gonna pay $20 for a chatterbait, it probably has something that a normal chatterbait doesn't have. But what do you want in a chatterbait rod? Well, it really depends. If you're gonna use, like, I'd say 1/4 ounce or heavier, you want, I'd say, a medium heavy. I mean, you could use a medium, but you may not be able to feel the bite as well. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're really good at feeling moving bait bites. I'm okay at it. I know my first ever chatterbait bite was pretty distinct. He just kind of slammed it, ran off with it. But a lot of times, those little bass, they don't fight that's not true. They actually fight very aggressively. Some bass just don't fight that aggressively and just stay there. Or maybe you hook a pickerel or something that don't always fight too aggressively, which that's also like, because pickerel fight very aggressively, and they're annoying. But I would just say overall, for your most versatile rod, I'd say a medium heavy. You can get a moderate tip if you want, but a medium heavy is probably the best power, so you'll have more backbone. You can have a lot of tip, but you want a lot of backbone to maybe winch fish out of cover if you're like fishing this by lily pads, and maybe you're fishing it by laydowns and he goes over and wraps you around a tree or a log or something. You want a rod that has plenty of power. It's really all personal preference. And to be honest, I would say most of chatterbait fishing, most of any moving bait fishing is 90% overall your choice, like personal preference. But there are a few things that you really want. You want a reasonably strong rod. I like a medium heavy fast. This one I'll try to show you. I know you probably can't see it that well, but this has has very little give. This is like a 20-80 bend, or not 20, but more like maybe a 25 to, it's like a 75-25 bend. It's very little bend. It's almost an extra fast. This is almost a heavy rod. Like, I'm surprised this isn't marked down as heavy. It's a really heavy tip. I lose a lot of fish on this rod, to be honest with you. Or I did one time. I guess that was a really bad hook. I don't know. But I lost a lot of fish on this recently. I don't get very many good hookups. Hopefully I will get more good hookups to this rod. But Honestly, they might have marked it down as medium heavy by mistake, because this is a very heavy rod. I mean, it does not feel like a medium heavy, but you be the judge of that. Comment down below what you think it is. For Shadowmates, I would definitely say you want a long handle, because when you cast that thing out there and you reel it back, the thing vibrates like crazy, or at least in my opinion. It vibrates a lot more, because I'm used to fishing a Texas rig or spinnerbait that doesn't have a ton of shake or vibration. It just kind of comes through the water. Has a little bit, but not a lot. So a chatterbait is kind of like a whoa for me. Like, that's a lot of vibration. So you want a long, long rod. I'd say almost as long, like, I know Guggen Squad Green Series rods, they're long rods. I would say that's a really good rod length. Maybe that rod specifically. I don't think I'd like Guggen rods that much. I like Lowe's way better. It's cheaper. And it's going to allow for better user experience, in my opinion. But this is a decently long handle. That's about as long as you want. You don't want it to be any shorter than I'd say you want, any shorter than your forearm. Like, or you don't want it to be a whole lot longer than your elbow, but right about there. As long as you can put it on your armpit and you can comfortably reel like this, that's probably good. Not everybody. Some people like to hold the rod out like this for GoPro footage or something, but I don't. I just like to hold it in and be able to feel everything I'm hitting up against. But, you know, it's really all your personal preference. Gear ratio, I would either get a 7.5-to-1 gear ratio reel, 7:1-to-1, somewhere in the 7s, or a 8:1-to-1. And the reason for possibly an 8:1-to-1 is it's going to be faster, but if you want it to slow down, you can. If you're using like a 5:1-to-1 or 6:6-to-1, you can't really slow it down. I mean, you can't really speed it up. It's just how it is. You don't get to really speed it up anymore. You'll have to crank really fast, which will cause you a lot of fatigue at the end of the day and all that stuff. Tiredness. That's not even a word, but, you know, I said it. So I guess it is a word, because I said it. But if you just think about it for a second. A fast gear ratio and just reeling it slower is a whole lot easier than getting a slow gear ratio and reeling it faster. So I'd either recommend a 7.5-to-1 or an 8:1-to-1 for all your moving baits. Crankbaits, maybe not crankbaits. You want a little bit of a slower reel for crankbaits. I don't even like a 7.5-to-1 for crankbaits. It just reels too fast for me. I can't hit the bottom as well. But for lengthwise, that is pretty much all your preference. I like at least a 7-foot. I would rather have like a 7.3, because then I'd have a little bit more ability to cast it out farther, cover more water with it, because almost opposite from every other lure I talk about, the chatterbait, you really don't need to, I'd say, fish it by structure as much, because a lot of times those fishers are going to be like, what in the world, and they'll just go over and eat it. Kind of the same thing on the spinnerbait, but not quite. I say chatterbait is more of an open lure water. You should hit it and bring it by stuff, bring it by grass, vegetation, bring it by stumps, lay down sticks, all that stuff. But in the end, a bass will probably come out a good ways to eat a chatterbait, because it has a ton of vibration, especially in dirty water where they can't really see much and they're just feeling it. They're like, what in the world? And they go eat that. Now, obviously, in certain times of the year, like this time of year, probably not the best idea to fish a chatterbait out deep. This time of year, they're up shallow, they're getting ready to spawn. Not the best idea. In fact, if you're going to fish in clear water, use a more natural chatterbait. So, maybe not white, maybe white chartreuse, or maybe a blue, maybe not blue chatterbait, but you want to use whatever imitates the main forage in your lake or pond. So if I'm going to fish a chatterbait in a pond near me, listen, you're rarely going to find a pond that has shad or crawdads or some sort of bait fish as the main forage. You are 99% of the time, bluegill is going to be the main forage in a pond, not a lake. Lakes have, shad and shiners and smelts and stuff like that. But I say 99% of the pond, all the forages is bluegill, because, well, that's just what they eat. And that's why a yum dinger and June bug, black and blue baits, they just work super well. I know there's a lot of bluegill in my neighborhood pond. Not a lot, but there's a considerable amount. I don't really know the bass eat in that pond, to be honest. My brother just thinks it's the vegetation, but there's not any vegetation in that pond. There's just snodgrass at the bottom, which bass obviously don't eat. There's nothing weird, like, there is technically matted, like, leaves. It's not even matted grass. It's just leaves that sit on the top of the water. But that doesn't really count. Okay, I need to stop rabbit trailing. I'm rabbit trailing from the chatterbait, but like I said, I'd go anywhere from 7 to 7.3, maybe 7.4 at the most. 7.6 is a little long for a chatterbait, but 7.4 is a good kind of stop there. You could bomb it way out there. I mean, this time of year, you're probably going to want a shorter rod to be able to target cast it up against the bank, up against structure and vegetation. But later in the year, when the bass are back out deep again, suspending maybe, chatterbait might just be the best option. I don't know. I think it would kind of like an A-rig, like just, you know, I've never used an A-rig before. I really want to use one. If y'all want to send me an A-rig, feel free. If you guys want to send me anything, my email's in the description as always. But yeah, let's stop rabbit trailing. Like I said, 7 foot, 7.4, medium, heavy, fast. You can use a medium, but you might want to use a much lighter chatterbait, 3/8 ounce, maybe even lighter. If you're gonna use a medium action rod or a spinning rod, I would get the lightest style chatterbait you can, because you'll be putting a trailer on there anyway. I wouldn't even recommend using a spinning rod for it. There's just so much vibration on it. If you do that, then it's fine. If you caught fish doing that, totally fine. But, you know, just my recommendations. Now, as for line, this is like the final thing in this video. I wouldn't say line is as important as a rod and reel, but it's pretty important. If you're going to fish deep water, and maybe you're fishing braid and that it just doesn't seem to be getting to the bottom very fast, I'd recommend between 12 and 15 pound fluorocarbon. 15 probably being the best, because a lot of times you might just get a really big fish, 3+ pounds, to eat your chatterbait, and you need strong line to be able to winch him out of cover, especially if a fish eats your chatterbait and he kind of goes and wraps you around some brush or whatever, and and even that, like if he wraps you around brush with braid, believe me, it is so hard to get braided line untangled from a stick or something, because it just digs in. It is so annoying. I hate braid around structure like that, but fluorocarbon does really well, especially if you want to flip a Texas rig into heavy cover or something like that. But I'd say fluorocarbon for the most part, and max 15 pound line. You don't want to go any more than that, because any more than that, it gets way too thick and just ridiculously hard to cast, and the fish are going to see it way easier. But 15 pound is where I like to be. This is Cigar Basics. 15 pound fluorocarbon is $10 for a spool of 15 200-yard spool. Like, I'm going to link it below. It's awesome. Love Cigar Basics. I don't even know what's the difference between Cigar and Visix and Cigar Basics. I don't see a difference. This line probably does the same as this. I don't see a difference, just me personally, in my personal opinion. Hello there. But I really hope this video helped you. If it did, please leave me a like. Subscribe to my channel if you're new. I almost forgot where to fish a chatterbait. So, depending where you are in the globe or in the world, you're going to be fishing a chatterbait in different spots. I'd say if you're down south, your fish are like probably already post-spawn. A chatterbait is very versatile. Or you can toss it around grass, laydowns, stick stumps. But I'd say the most versatile way to use a chatterbait is, I wouldn't put it right up on the bank where it's like 0 feet of water, but like I'd say 5 to 10 feet off the bank is probably the most versatile spot to fish a chatterbait. Now, if you do all this and you catch a bunch of fish or catch a bit of fish, let me know. Email me, or email me, and I will love to see that. I'd love to put it in a video. If you have like cool clips of catching fish, I'd love to put that in a video also. I think at the end of each video, I think I'm gonna start taking videos. Like if you email me at outdoorjack123@gmail.com, I'm gonna start taking videos that you send me. I'm gonna start putting them at the end of the video, like little short clips of people catching fish, or bass. I prefer bass if you can catch bass. But little short clips of you catching bass. I'll give you a little shout out, and you can. That's a great way to do it. Instead, I know I used to do comment of the day. I might still do that, but I think I'm gonna do fishing clips. Like, I'll just choose one random one off of the ones I get sent for the days in between the post. But you can just send me a clip at outdoorjack123@gmail.com. As long as it's not like, try to keep it like under 15 seconds. Make sure it's small enough that it can fit in the email. But if you'd like to do that, you can email me there, and I'll just put it at the end of the video, and you can have like a little shout out, and I'll say this fish was caught by this person. But that's pretty much it for this video. If you did enjoy it, thanks for watching. I really appreciate you stopping by, watching my video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Give me some elbow. One more thing I forgot to mention is that I will link some more budget-friendly rod and reels. This is a $200 rod and reel combo. If you are able to spend like $200, this is a tremendous chatterbait rod. I might have said it wasn't a great chatterbait rod in the video a while ago, but I guess that was for Texas rig. This is a tremendous moving bait rod, I'll say that. I'll link it below, and I'll also link a more budget-friendly combo in the description below, and you can even search. I'll link like Tackle Warehouse or Carl's, and you may want to search for a rod there. But thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.